Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 328. Guess who's back on the show? James Haskell. Hello.
Hello.
Oi, oi.
Been a while.
Been a while. Been around the world, attended a royal wedding. You doing all right?
Yeah, we've done all right. I've done a few bits and pieces. Let's put it that way. I've missed you. I haven't been, I've done a few podcasts really, but it's normally random people who kind of message me through Twitter. And I look at them and they've kind of got 10 followers. And I kind of feel that it maybe was just about them having a chat with me. It wasn't really about broadcasting a podcast.
Maybe. Well, mate, you're back on the UK's number one rated, so let's talk shop.
All right, talk it up.
Mate, where do we start? We've been talking a lot off air before we started this podcast today. And there's so much I admire about what you do in the fitness industry and in sport and all that kind of stuff, because you're very active, you're very progressive, you're always pushing yourself. I suppose if we were to ask why, it's probably just an athlete mindset, right? It's about doing better in all areas of life.
Yes, I think I'm a workaholic. I think I have a massive fear of missing out. I also think I'm I don't know. I've kind of a restless mind, really, and I always want to be doing something, and that can sometimes be detrimental. You end up trying to do too much, and it can be quite stressful. I think when I sit down with people and say, right, this is what I'm doing on a regular basis, it can kind of be a little bit overwhelming, because other than being a rugby player and being a kind of professional rugby player, for me is kind of it's 9 to 5 and 5 to 9. It's all the time. Everything's kind of around making me a better player, and that will be things like simply your diet, your training, going to get extra physio, video analysis, or trying to find the best ways to recover, looking at supplementation, whatever it might be. Doing your kind of extra skill training and spending time working on that. And then kind of on top of that, I have the fitness business, James Haskell Health and Fitness, which has gone through kind of many different kind of transitions. You knew it when it was kind of JH Bodyfire and we were kind of just starting out. And, I obviously got a book off the back of that, a best-selling fitness book, which is kind of amazing. And I wrote that myself, which is great for especially a rugby player with kind of brick hands. And I was once described by my school teacher as someone that may never read or write. So I've done all right off the back of that. And then kind of, there's the hobbies that I've kind of turned into jobs, which is great, but there's the DJing, there's the kind of motivational speaking, so all those kind of bits come together. It's all about kind of time management and doing that. My kind of girlfriend, or fiance I should say now, kind of rolls her eyes a lot, and I think she looks at me sometimes and goes, "You're mad," in terms of all the stuff you do. But I want to make sure that if I was to crash my car and die today or whatever it might be, that I've kind of done everything that I could do and I've maximised it. And I don't want to be one of these people who spends all their life playing on an Xbox and watching the time go by. It's great to do that for kind of a respite, but not as a job. And sadly, as a lot of rugby players say, going for coffee with the lads after training, you can't monetize that, sadly, and it's not a job, even though some of them would like to have you believe it is. You've got to be working because you never know when your career is going to finish.
Mate, I love that. One thing you haven't talked about though is your weird fetish with diggers. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. So it's a long story, really. I think when I was obviously a baby, my mum used to obviously take me out in the pram or whatever, and I obviously, whenever there was roadworks, I obviously used to sit there fascinated, dribbling. I was a big dribbler. I think nothing's really changed these days, and I used to sit there staring avidly. And I think over the years, I've kind of, it's one of those, most kids are obsessed with it, trains, diggers, tractors, whatever it might be. All young kids kind of love it. But I've carried that kind of obsession through. And, JCB is my favourite kind of brand. It's been something that I've been obsessed with. And through kind of the power of rugby, I got to meet up with guys from JCB over the years and kind of built a relationship to the point where they've lent me a machine. I've had it for kind of 8 months. And luckily, again, benefits to be a rugby player. Someone in the village where I live owns an orchard, makes unbelievable cider. And he said to me that I could park my digger at his house because I had it out on the driveway. I had it on the driveway, which I loved because I always said that in life I had made it once I opened the front door and I had my kind of Range Rover and I had a digger. I obviously want a Lamborghini on there as well, but that's a work in progress. So I had the digger on there. It was great. I could see my missus kind of rolling her eyes at me. And he let me park it at his place. And then he subsequently gave me a load of jobs. And I've done about 30 grand's worth of work for me. He's got an orchard, so I've taken out like 90 trees. I've done all this ditching. I've done, I've just done a whole load of work. I've been at it kind of 6 months. I'm literally about to finish it now, and then I'm going over to a building site near here to do some kind of groundwork bits and pieces. And I'm going to get my official license. So I love it. I make myself a coffee. I'm a real coffee snob, so I make myself a naughty flat white. Drive my car over, get in the digger, put the house music on, Defected Records, get it on, or a bit of techno. Doors open, window open, the sun, just tunes blaring as I'm clearing trees and digging holes and just having the time of my life.
Mate, that, to be honest, I think I'd enjoy it as well. Like, it's a proper man job.
Yeah, 100%. It's really cathartic. It's really kind of relaxing. I completely switch off. I get fucking stressed with it. Like everything. That's the problem. All my hobbies and all the things that I want to get into, I get stressed with. And that's what my fiance doesn't like. She's like, this is supposed to be fun, but like with the digging stuff, I'm like trying to make it perfect. I'm trying to do this and trying to do that. This music production course I'm on with kind of Tool and Records is it's 12 weeks, and it's been so mentally testing. Like I love it, but I've been working at it non-stop for 4 days because you kind of have 4 days to do the homework, then you've got another thing, then another 4 days, and it's kind of all time consuming. And as I'm about as creative as kind of a house brick, it's very hard to kind of do. So it has its positives because you switch off from kind of rugby and social media and the media in general. But it can be stressful. That's my problem. I reckon my cortisol levels on a regular basis are like, I'm supposed to be having fun, and then I'll go outside I'm getting into barbecuing as well, but that's another story. I get outside. This is how I get outside, and I'm like, right, the lawn needs mowing. This isn't good. This isn't this. Why is that? That's where I get stressed. So she tells me I'm a big grumpus, so I need to just have a minute and relax.
Mate, I don't think you'll try your best, but I don't think you'll ever find that place that people call balance. Like, it's like I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. I was listening to Stephen Fry talk, and he was saying, like, what's the point of not loving your work? He said, I work every hour, but I have fun doing it because my work is my life. And if you see purpose in everything that you do, then whether you're stressed, busy, haven't slept, like, you're still enjoying it. Yeah,
and I think, I do the underlying factors. I enjoy all these things. I do absolutely love them. The issue for me is I'm always striving for perfection, and because I've always been in a results-based business where you learn a skill, go and do it, execute it, and there's obviously room for improvement, but it's kind of, I've been doing it for so many years with rugby. What's difficult is when you then go and do, say, music, and you're trying to make something work, you're trying to create notes, you're like, oh, I can't do it, or you're trying to barbecue something. I did my first spatchcock chicken last night. I've got this unbelievable like Traeger grill thing, and I'm doing all the stuff, and it comes out as about an 8 out of 10. The skin wasn't quite crispy. You're like, oh, but that's the whole point. It's the learning process. It's the fun part of learning. You've got to accept that. That's the best bit, that everyone's always striving for perfection. You'll never get it. And in the learning, we find the fun. Whereas in the learning, I find the stress. I want to be a 3 Michelin-starred barbecue chef after the first time, but it's never possible.
Mate, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the rugby and being an athlete and all that kind of stuff, because after all, this is a health and fitness show. So you are still an athlete. You've probably got a couple of years left in the tank. What do you see as big problems with people and their aspirations in health and fitness? So because you're in the position you're in, you're going to get messages, you're going to get people asking for your advice. What are people not getting wrong regularly? So what is the advice that you almost keep dispensing? And I can imagine the book that you wrote kind of covered a lot of these things that you see people not doing right.
Yeah, so look, this was the whole reason I started a fitness business, the whole reason I kind of got into this. I always make very clear I'm not qualified. I'm doing my this is another thing I'm doing. I'm doing my PT course at the moment to kind of, to get some qualifications in that kind of area. I've been living and breathing health and fitness since the age of kind of 15. I've made, most mistakes that people will make. I've changed. And I think the really important thing is you've probably done it on your show. If you went back and listened to the first kind of 50 shows versus what you know now, it's always important in health and fitness to put your hand up and say, listen, this is what I believe and this is what was right, but research has come out and said this is wrong. And, it's a constantly evolving thing. So there are some constants, like calories in, calories out. That's, for me, that's a huge constant. If you want to build muscle, you've got to do the hypertrophy. You have to be in a calorie surplus. If you want to lose weight, you're going to have to be in a calorie deficit. There's certain bits and pieces, but things like views on fasting and carb cycling and ketosis, all those kind of other bits and pieces, and intermittent fasting and all those different bits. There's a constantly changing landscape. And I think, my first book that I wrote was a guide for all kind of young rugby players, old rugby players, amateur rugby players like yourself. Sorry, I always have to have a dig.
Mate, the thing is, I'll still probably play longer than you will. So
yeah, you probably will do. Yeah.
And still got better hands.
Oh, I don't know. There's a few highlight reels. Did you not see my through the legs for Wasps the other day when we scored that unbelievable try? And they came back because I apparently did a high tackle, which ruined my absolute champagne moment.
Maybe it's easy when you only play a game a month.
Yeah, very true. Very true. That's what I'm getting older. You've got to look after the body, look after number one. And I think the rugby book I wrote was basically to answer a lot of these questions because, people kind of start showing an interest in my health and fitness and what I was eating, what I was doing. And I think that's the real power of social media, is sharing advice, sharing interesting stuff that people want to kind of learn from. And there's a lot of negative people like, why are you posting about your food? Why are you posting about this? And it's like, because there is an audience out there. That's why, young rugby players want to aspire to be professional rugby players. I've had an all right career. There's some people who want to know how to achieve it. And I still constantly get messages, though, all the time, even though I kind of, did that rugby book and now I've got Perfect Fit, which I resisted writing for a long time because it's a complete general health and fitness book. It's all my kind of knowledge of the last, kind of 10 years poured into it, fat loss, muscle gain, all this kind of stuff. And the muscle gain thing in particular, being a massive muscular unit is not going to make you a great rugby player. But, obviously there's a lot of people who want to kind of do that. So once I'd catered to my rugby audience, I wanted to then kind of appeal to, the average lad, the average woman who's taking kind of health and fitness more seriously. And sort of, the messages I constantly get every day are, I train 5 times a week and I'm not getting any results. What supplements can I take? And it's just understanding that, you're probably not eating the right amount of food, or I'm definitely not eating the right amount of food. If you're not gaining weight or gaining muscle or gaining whatever, you're just not eating enough or doing the right training. But more often than not, it's kind of eating enough. And I remember sitting down, I was getting a haircut by this kind of Turkish dude the other day, and I know I've only got a few haircuts left actually, but getting sort of haircut by this Turkish dude, and he was like, "You're a big guy. I train 5 times a week." And I said, and he goes, "I've got these supplements." And he showed me like this amino acid stuff that I think it had like Explode on the bottle or Mutant or something, whatever it was. And I just said to him, right, don't worry about that. Let's just go through your diet. Let's just have a quick look, because this is something I get asked all the time. So I opened my Fitness Pal on a new day and I put everything he'd eaten. And he said, right, I said to him, what do you have for breakfast? He said, I've had 2 eggs. Okay, so I put 2 eggs in. And do you have anything with it? He goes, I had a piece of toast. Okay. Then he went and said, what do you have for lunch? He goes, I had spaghetti with like chicken escalope on top. I said, okay, so I put that in. And then I said, what do you have for dinner? And he put his dinner in. It was like, my dad owns a kebab shop, and so I had chicken sheesh and some flatbread. So I put that in, and it came up to like 900 to 1,000 calories. And I went, you've eaten 1,000 calories today, and you're thinking you're going to gain any weight? And he was just like blown away. And I said, mate, you're not even in the ballpark to possibly gain any kind of muscle or achieve anything. And it's the same message I get from lads all the time. I'm like, right, I train, I do this, I'm on that, and I can't put any weight on. And I always come back to go, right, what are you eating? What are you doing? And almost to a man, they're always under eating. That they're not tracking what they do. No one's got any concept of what they're putting in their body. I recommend MyFitnessPal to everyone. But the thing with MyFitnessPal is that you don't want to use it as your sole way of tracking your information, because I remember on Chloe's page yesterday, someone went, well, I'm burning 2,000 calories a day. And it's like, you're not, love. You're not, in terms of training, goes, you're not. Like, I think maybe Chris Hoy was probably burning 2,000 calories. And you're not burning 2,000 calories. And so obviously you replied, like, where do you get the information? She's like, I got it from MyFitnessPal. And that's because people are putting the information in there. So there's a lot, and people are using these kind of smartwatches going, I've walked 12,000 steps, so I burnt this. It's like, it's not as accurate as you would like it to be. So just having a bit of understanding. And what I tried to share with people is, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be difficult. There are really simple ways of starting, and it's not about buying the best equipment. It's not about buying all these kind of supplements. It's real simple. Get an understanding of what you're eating. Track what you're eating sensibly. Like, nobody wants to be the loser who gets the phone out of the table and starts putting MyFitnessPal stuff in, but you've got to do it. Get a pair of scales. Start understanding what you're doing over 5-6 days and go, do you know what? One day I'm eating 800, the other day at 4,000. I have my night out. And once you know what you're doing, you can then get results. And that's really important for me because it's the same stuff. And I also think people are quite lazy as well. People, message. I tell you what they do. That people feel kind of. I can't remember what the exact word is, but they feel like you should be sharing this information. So they get quite demanding and they send messages to you like, well, I've done this and this. So what does that mean? It's like, what? First of all, why the fuck should I tell you? Why should I go out my day to tell you this? And secondly, if you haven't said please or thank you, and demanding I send you a training plan. That's my favourite. Hi, I'm this young player. I want to do this. Can you send me a training plan, please? It's like, no, I've written a book, mate. You can buy the book, and that's got all the information in it. But I'm not going to write you a personalised plan. It's going to take me days to create it for you.
So let me just stop you there, just because this is a big frustration of mine at the moment. And I did a short podcast about 2 weeks ago on people's engagement on social media and the way that they're trying to learn and evolve themselves. And I said, everyone's following so many different people that it's all getting too confusing. Like, you're not actually getting credible information. So I said to people, you should probably follow like 10, maybe 12 health and fitness people that you really like and just engage with that information, because otherwise the theories and the thoughts are going to be going off in all kinds of different places. And also, because everyone wants an answer in 5 seconds, no one's willing to go, hang on, James Haskell's been an elite rugby player for over 10 years and he's written a book. I reckon everything is in his head is in that book. But I'm still going to send him an Instagram message and see if I can get the answer in 30 seconds. It's like, you can't do that. You've got to engage in the process, buy the book. And that's why I love books, because you're literally buying the inside of someone's head as a result of 10 years of development.
I could not agree with you more. And I think the one thing I don't try to plug the book, but I say this in the book is, so, right, I go along and I subscribe to the Ben Coomber Health Fitness Plan. I go on one of your courses or I download a plan, right? And I'm looking at it, and I go into the gym, and I've got my mate, and my mate Tom's been following, 2 or 3 other people. And he looks at me and he goes, oh, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to do this. So I go, after 2 weeks, I go, right, well, I'll do a bit of that. And then I got my other mate, and he goes, oh, mate, you don't want to be doing that. You want to be doing some CrossFit. I've been doing some CrossFit. So what I do is I start adding some CrossFit into stuff. And then someone comes in and goes, now, listen, mate, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be intermittent fasting. That's what you want to be doing. And then someone else will come in and go, you need to be doing ketosis. And before you know it, exactly what you said, you're doing a whole load of different things, you're bolting stuff on, and you're just not adhering it. And my favourite is with people, is I did an article with the Times recently to review my book. And the Times guy, I said to him, right, listen, here's the calories you need to be having, here's your macro split. Right, we're going to stick on this because we want to lose weight. So we took off kind of 250 calories for the first couple of weeks and said, look, we're going to stay on there. After 2 weeks of dedication, focus, doing what you're supposed to do, we will then review it. So after 2 weeks, he comes back to me and he goes, right, this is what I'm on. I'm on this amount of calories. And he'd taken 900 calories off his thing. And he goes, I'm feeling a bit hungry. I was like, right, first of all, who told you to take 900 calories off your thing? He goes, well, we've only got a short time and I thought I would lose it quickly. I went, no, listen, either you know enough to be doing this so you do it yourself, or you're asking me to help you. And then I asked about the training. He goes, well, I've got certain results, but, I'm still playing kind of 4 hours of tennis, twice a week. And I said, but you can't have the energy. If you're doing the HIIT training and the kind of the home training stuff I'm doing, there's no way you've got the energy to do this. I go, have you been doing it? He goes, well, what I do is I do a little bit of one in the morning. I go and play tennis. I went, mate, you were playing tennis before you met me. If it was that fucking good, you'd already be in shape. Right? No one's ever looked at a tennis player or one of these people and gone, do you know what? I want to have a body like that. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. So tennis is, the professional tennis players are unbelievable athletes. They're working to a level. Mary and Ron down the local tennis club, right, could be playing there for 8 hours, and they're not even, getting their heart rate above 120. So I said to him, listen, do what you've been told to do. Stop thinking you know best, because if you know best, then you don't need me. do what you say you're going to do. And the best piece of advice I can say is, we've all got sections of our lives and all got kind of time frames of what we want to do, is find someone you believe in. So look at Ben Coomber, go on and go, right, has he helped people? Has he done this? What's he doing? Go, he's got an 8-week course. Stick to the 8-week course. Do it. Don't put anything more in it. Don't think you're cleverer. Don't think you're gonna cut more calories than you should. Don't fucking add, a watt bike thing. Don't start doing boxercise. Give up that 8 weeks of your life to do something and make an informed decision. And I guarantee, after 5 weeks, if you've seen absolutely no results and you've done everything to the letter, like you've tracked everything, you've weighed everything, done all the training, then it's a shit plan and move on to the next one. But don't get sick and bored of doing a plan when you haven't done it properly. You don't know best, because if you did know best, you be in sick shape, you wouldn't be looking to someone else to do it.
Mic drop.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I've done it. I did it. Listen, when I was coming out of school and I wanted to be a young rugby player, right, and I was looking at everything, I was buying Men's Health magazines. I was fucking on the internet, and I was like, Men's Health would do like a food supplement, be like, right, if red onions got this in it, avocados are great fat. This, I was literally doing everything. Bizarrely, I met Tom Hardy the other day at this royal wedding.
Legend.
Yeah, legend. And he did an article when he did the movie Warrior about some of the stuff he was doing, right? And it was a load of stuff like body weight stuff, neck press ups, and everything else. I read this and I was like, well, this is me. He got in mental shape for Warrior and for Bane. He was a unit. I want to be like that. Obviously, that's not exactly what he was doing the whole time. And apart from giving myself a major neck injury by trying to do like neck press ups, like do those like inverted roll, and I was telling him this, and he was kind of looking at me like, mate, you are one of the weirdest dudes I've ever seen. I was obviously a bit kind of starstruck because I was, rabbiting on. But that's the thing, and people look at everything and get really excited, and every week there's a new fad, but nobody does any research. And what the best thing to do is just take 5 minutes, read about it, understand it. If you bought a book, you can't skip out all the information, go straight to training stuff and do it. There's background. Like, people keep writing to me going, well, I've read your book, and I was just wondering, it says about superset stuff. I'm used to doing a superset, one exercise after another, and then rest. In some of my books, I've grouped exercise together, but I've done them slightly different. And I said, mate, it's in the book. Just read the book. Like, people just don't want to read it. We've all got terrible attention spans because of our mobile phones.
Yeah.
If it doesn't take 30 seconds, or it does it and you can't skip through it, people don't want to watch it. And that's the sad reality, is that if you want to get anywhere in life, you've got to suffer, you've got to read, you've got to work hard, you've got to pay attention, you've got to be dedicated. There's no shortcuts, no easy ways of doing it. And that's the problem. And that's what separates people. That's why there's millionaires, and that's why there's people with no kind of money. That's why there's people with amazing bodies, and that's why there's people with no amazing bodies. Because, yes, there's obviously external factors and especially with the money thing, where you were born and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, through hard work, dedication, determination, some suffering, some sacrifice, you'll achieve what you want.
So, talking about social media, which I think is, I see it as a really hot topic at the moment, especially from a mental health perspective. Like, you talked at the beginning a bit about your character type and what you're like, and you're quite passionate and relentless, and you get into stuff. And I think we've almost got into social media in potentially an unhealthy way, and we're not treating it and giving it boundaries like we would in our life. Like in our relationships with like people, family, friends, we need boundaries. With our work, we need boundaries. And I think we're letting social media run our brain too much. We're not controlling that boundary. And the amount of people that I see social media having a negative effect on, when it should be net positive. We should just be learning and absorbing and growing as people as a result of the information we're digesting. For me, that's not happening, and it's kind of a bit sad.
I'll be completely honest with you. I think social media is the worst thing to have happened to the human race in the last however long. I think the negatives far outweigh the positives, and that's someone who I live on social media. In terms of, I use it as a tool solely for kind of self-promotion, business promotion. Everything I do, there's a reason behind it. Otherwise, you're literally inviting people that you would never speak to or never want anywhere near your life into your life. So if you're doing it because you're looking for affirmation, you're doing it because you want to be liked, that's for me a massive failure. I just don't see any point in it. I think if it's about business, sharing information, if you've actually got an interesting story and you're real positive, then that's a great tool. But I truly believe that the world is going down a toilet for a number of reasons, and the big thing that's pushing it down there is social media, because it's allowed everyone with a smartphone to have an opinion. And there's that famous quote that opinions are like arseholes, everybody has one, and everyone says stink. And the thing is that my fiance and I argue about this all the time, right? I genuinely believe everyone's entitled to opinions, but some opinions are just flat out wrong and a load of shit. And I don't care if people say freedom of speech or anything else like that. No. The general consensus is that it's wrong, then you shouldn't really be allowed to have one. Or if you have, just write it in shit on your own bedroom wall, and do that way. Don't involve other people in it. And I think that social media could be so good. For me, it's so many young players, older players, people who are real positive, want to see how a professional sportsman lives his life. I get to do some quite cool things, sharing that kind of information, monetizing it, making money off the back of it. I think that's great. But I think generally going onto someone's page and just being nasty or critical or body shaming, or people aren't happy. We're all got problems. We've all got problems in any way, shape or form. Confidence, self-worth, daddy issues, whatever it might be. We've all got them. Nobody is exempt to these things, and everybody either wants to be liked, doesn't want to be liked, whatever it might be. And social media has magnified this to a point where it's just terrible. And I being a rugby player, I get lots of positives, and it's great. And I get abused like anyone else does, more so. And what's interesting is that I kind of look at the people who abuse you or say things, and more often than not, that you look at them and you go, within 10 seconds, I could pick you apart. And is that why you're commenting? Because you're so unhappy with your normal life? Like, my favourite one is people who body shame, who comment like under Chloe's pages or whatever, or go, oh, you're looking too masculine, you're doing this, you're doing that. And you look at them and their whole profile is pictures of animals and not one of themselves. And that immediately tells you they're not confident enough to put pictures of themselves up, because they don't want other people to comment. And the reason they post loads of pictures of animals is animals can't talk back. Animals can't tell you, listen, you're a fat waste of space who's doing absolutely nothing with life. Animals will love you because you've got food, irregardless. And that's why the old woman lives with 75 cats, is because she's very unhappy with her life, and animals are only friends, and they'll stay friends with you until you feed them. But trust me, if you died and you're trapped in a house with them, they'd eat you before you knew what's fucking happening. And it is something to bear in mind. And I just think that nobody does any research now. I believe everything you see. Every time you picture, you read something, you see a quote, you see something. There's that. I think with Donald Trump, there's a quote where he was either for when he was standing for the Republicans, Democrat. Yeah, the Republicans. Is it Democrat? Who's he stand for? Who is his thing?
I don't know. It's a penis.
Right, I thought he's a penis. But there's a quote where he says, if I was ever going to be president, I'd go for, I think it's the Republicans, because they'll believe anything and back anything or whatever. Well, that was actually fake news. That was used in the campaign against him and everything else. That happened to be bullshit. And it's like, we don't ever research anything. And we come out and tell people over dinner parties or over coffee, going, you won't believe this and that. And no one does any research for it. And I think there are positives, 100%. But I just think it's opened a world to abuse. And my favourite thing is some bloke, I did a video of me at Wasps, and someone blocked my car in at the Rico training ground, and I recorded this video, and it was a French number plate, so I made a joke about international relations and everything else, and I filmed this guy's car, and this guy's car was like dented and scratched and everything else. And what happened is I'd parked up against a metal fence, right, that was a removable barrier, but thinking no prat would come and park behind me, and I was a little bit out the square because it was a giant 2,000 space car park. But obviously on the video, I played this, and it turned out to be one of my teammates, and it had over 2 million views, 3 million views, went viral. I had maybe 9 or 10 car Instagrams asking me if they could retweet it. And I got so much abuse. People were like insinuating that I'd scratched the guy's car, that I was a CUNT, that I was everything. And it was all a joke, right? The bloke who drives the car is a CUNT, trust stand, a Range Rover driver, can't do this. And everyone went mad. And it was one of my teammates, one of my car. It was fun. I obviously moved the barrier. And what I did is, because I knew it was one of my boys, I wrapped his car with a barrier around it. I hooked them together. And people were like, you didn't even chain it, I'd burn your car. If you did that to me, I'd burn your car, I'd shoot you. And some Scottish guy from Corby, unbelievably, it's not actually far down the road, and his address was all over his Facebook. So if I ever fancy going around filling someone in, make myself feel better about it, I've got a guy to go to. But he wrote me an email going, you're just an English CUNT. If you park like that, I'd fucking burn your car out. I'd do this, I'd do that. So I like to kind of show lessons on Facebook. I like to show people, right, be more like this, don't be like this. So I screenshotted his comments and his email, and I put his Facebook and said, listen guys, I always say that social media is a tool for positivity. Don't be like this dude, or whatever. I put this up, and I said he's obviously racist to start with, but more importantly, he's rude and aggressive and threatening. I said, don't be like this guy. It's a joke video. It's a load of fun. And one of the pictures had his missus in, and I must have he emailed me on every single platform, and it started off with like, here's my number, if you want to talk to me, we can talk about this. I'm like, mate, I'm not fucking calling you. Like, people in social media have broken down all the bounds. It's like, I'm not your mate, I'm not going to call you, I'm not that accessible. What am I going to say to some random person I've never met? And then it went on to like, right, my girlfriend's getting a load of abuse, I'm getting abuse, I'm not happy with this. I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. So you're comfortable abusing other people, but suddenly welcome to 5 minutes of my world, you don't like it. And then he started getting threatening, going, I know you're a professional rugby player, I'd hate to see something happen to you, and all this kind of stuff. And I was actually on my digger again, and I was so incensed by this guy threatening me when he had the one who'd done it. I was like, right, I'm just going to have to go around driving digger through the side of his house. and my beautiful fiance, was like, James, you're an idiot. Leave it. And I obviously wanted to leave the post because I knew it was rattling him, and I knew he was getting more and more abuse. But he must have complained so many times on Facebook that they removed it. So in his mind, I think he thought I'd like backtracked, but I didn't. I was going to let him stew because I was loving the fact that him and his partner were getting 5 minutes of what it's like to be a person in the public eye in a professional sport, and they don't like it. Funny enough, because no one likes people being harsh and threatening to you. Because that's not how the world's supposed to be. I don't go around threatening people. I don't go around, abusing people. I try to be really positive. And I think anyone on social media, if you've ever logged on to a website and signed up for the comment section, or for example, the Daily Mail, or you've ever gone on someone's page and commented something nasty, then you need to have a long, hard look at yourself. And there's a special place in hell reserved for people like you. I guarantee.
Mate, incredible. And I don't want there to be that level of negativity. No one does on social media. Like, it's just not needed. And don't get me wrong, we do need to question things that we see are bullshit. But there's a right way to go about it. But I do think there's an awful snowflake syndrome where so many people, they'll put a comment on and we get so incensed about the way that someone said something or being challenged. Like, no one even likes to be challenged. It's like, hang on a second, people used to get up in, you look at Parliament and there's videos on Facebook where you can view Parliament and people, they're not swearing and stuff, don't get me wrong, but they're basically saying that is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. The whole of Great Britain doesn't need to do that, we need to do this. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with debate, but there's a right way to go about it. But I do think some people are fucking sensitive about some stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think encouraging debate helps you learn and helps you understand. But I think for a lot of people, it can be reactionary. It can be, and it's not couched in the right way. I posted something on my Facebook page about the royal wedding situation. So I went to the royal wedding. I've mentioned about 3 times on this podcast already. I apologise, I'm not trying to talk it up. And I got a load of abuse. Some of my former colleagues and people at a game, they turned around and said, oh, I should have gone, right? I was injured. I got permission from the club. And the best part was that didn't get any tickets for the non-23 and they didn't provide any transport at all for us to go to the game. The head coach actually bought the guys tickets and bought the guys transport. Now, I put this on there. And everyone was like very supportive. And then people were like, well, mate, you're a high-paid rugby player. Couldn't you buy a ticket? It's like, first of all, that's not the fucking point. Of course I could have gone and bought a ticket. Of course I could have driven over there. It was a sellout. Why would I want to buy an ordinary ticket to sit in a part of the stand with everyone else, and every 5 minutes someone come up to me and say, please may I have a photo? Or, I used to be a professional rugby player. I could have been a professional rugby player. I wasn't injured. It's like, or before, like, please. So I just think if people have been, people talk. The issue is people talk as if they know, and especially in situations where people are in the public eye or they've read stuff in the paper. It's one perspective, and we have to constantly tell ourselves that what we're reading, what someone is saying, is an opinion. But actually, if you're commenting on something because you've read it somewhere else or a third-party opinion, that's never the whole story. There's never, that's the whole part of it. So if you're going to challenge someone, then by all means ask a question or say, well, actually, look, I've read this, I believe that. But be open to be countered, or if someone posting something to go, do you know what? Actually, you might be right. I didn't know that. I'm happy to do my research and come back to it. And I think that's massively important. But I think we all believe what we see and read. And Chloe and I especially have read stories about ourselves, kind of that I'm apparently, Chloe and I got to get engaged, and I'm apparently paying $100,000 or / have paid $100,000 to have Craig David come and play at our wedding.
Please tell me you have.
Well, first of all, this is reported in the Daily Mail, the Sun, everything else. And Chloe did an interview about some stuff. And apparently before we got engaged, we had a million arguments on the day before we got engaged, and I was going to call it off. It's just made up. The Craig David thing's just made up. I happened to say, when we did a Hello kind of magazine shoot, that I reckon the ultimate, and this was stolen from Chloe, the ultimate wedding music post the first dance has to be garage. Everybody loves garage. Everybody, it's amazing. It's a thing. And Craig David would be the ultimate guy. I've met Craig David a couple of times. I would love to have him there. This is now escalated to I have gonna pay $100,000 to I have paid $100,000, and it's like, first of all, I don't have $100,000 for fucking frivolities, right? And I said at the time that I'd be mates rates. Well, we're not very good mates if he's fucking charging me $100,000. What's his normal thing? So just shit like that getting constantly kind of put out there and stuff, and you're reading about yourself and you think this is bullshit, but then you read that Kanye West's open fire on a shopping centre, and you're like, oh yeah, he's done that. Instead of going, hold on a minute, that doesn't sound normal. That doesn't sound. So you have to consciously keep pinching yourself and go do some research, have a look into it, because I follow some military stuff. And there's always the thing about there's a picture of a guy like a soldier, and it's like, this guy killed 36 Taliban, did this and did that, and saved the day and saved 3 of his friends. If you Google it and do the research, you'll find out, well, it wasn't quite like that. He didn't quite do this. He didn't quite do that. And it's and I started trying to do it as a bit of an experiment to actually find out what is what I'm reading. That's not even English. Are what I'm reading actually true or not?
Likely not. I think the sad thing about that, you look at the story about the wedding and the rugby match and all that, like, not enough people in that situation stood back and went, hang on, I know James Haskell. He's an alright lad, nice guy, does a lot, tries to put out some good information. Knowing what I know about him and his values and what he believes in, does that sound true? And I've had messages where people have messaged me and they're like, so-and-so have said this. And I've just replied saying, okay, you know me quite well. We've done work together. We're friendly. Like, does that sound like something I would do? No. But they approached me in a way that I had done it, rather than coming to me and saying, have you done this? This doesn't sound right. And I think that is the sad thing about social media, because it gives too much voice to some people with the wrong voice.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It just comes down to opinion. And there's that quote, isn't it? The internet's given a voice to people who don't necessarily deserve it.
Mate, we should wrap up. I said I'd respect your time and not go over the hour, and we've gone 5 minutes over the hour. Dude, keep doing what you're doing. You're an absolute legend. I'm a fan. I'll always support what you do. Good luck next season at Northampton as you scrubble around on the back row and try and keep catching things and scoring tries. When are you going to score a couple of tries in the season? Anyway?
What? I haven't scored a try in so long. Chloe's now hoved into view. She's just come off her first training session of the day, and she's eating courgette and something else because she's releasing her second book. I tell you what, right? She makes you and I look like amateurs. She's a best-selling book author. She's got another author. She's like an absolute business mogul, and she keeps saying, "You did?" She goes, "You did the other day." I'm like, "I don't think I did, love." But so she's so positive that she's like, "You did." I'm like, "Oh, I tell you what, I did. I actually do what I scored one. I scored one in January, I think. That was my last one. But up until then, I hadn't scored in 3 years.
Was that in touch training?
No, I scored a lot of training tries. Oh, mate, if it's down to training tries, I'm top scorer in the Premiership. but when it comes to games, I can't get any. But look, I love working with you, Ben. I think it's a great pleasure to have, for you to have me on your show. Obviously, I know you've got some amazing followers. You're absolutely killing it. And, I'll let you keep getting that number one spot until I decide to do a podcast, and I'm just going to blow the whole market out of the way. But, I don't tell you what, I might get you in on it.
Do you know I've still got that graphic of the podcast that we said that we were going to do together, and I've still got that graphic on my computer that we created for the show.
Yeah, why did we never do that?
Because you're shit at life.
I'm not, mate, I've completed life. That's right.
You completed Angry Birds.
No. I don't. Do you know what? No, that's another thing. I don't have any games on my phone.
Me neither.
If you're sitting down playing games with your phone, you could be doing something else.
Exactly.
That's worthwhile. But yeah, well, listen, we will do a podcast. Chloe and I actually want to do our own podcast as well. But I feel that mine would go off on a lot of tangents and be a bit more ranty, and Chloe would be really factually and really knowledgeable like she is. And I'm not sure the two are gonna merge, but we're gonna have a good go at it.
There'll be some good Barneys anyway.
Yeah, that's why we want our own reality TV show. But then I realised that people actually see that I'm a complete psychopath. But also, I wanted to say, Chloe will realise she's mad, and I'll be able to Sky Plus it and just rewind and go, "That's why you're mad." But I'm not sure it's ever gonna happen.
Dude, social media. Tell people where they can find you. Tell people where your books are. All the cool stuff. Plug the stuff. Big yourself up.
Okay, so my main kind of thing is my Instagram, which is @JamesHask, which is HASK. There's my kind of fitness Instagram, which is James Haskell, JHHF. Obviously got my website and stuff for all my kind of books and training plans, which is www.jameshaskell.com. And obviously a Facebook again, which is James Haskell, JHHF. So all of it's around there. There's links to all of it. I've got a YouTube channel as well. You'll see all that kind of information. Hit me up. Send me some messages if you hear this and love it, then and give me a follow. And I'll catch you guys soon.
100%. James, thank you very much for your time. Again, absolute hero. For anyone that wants to evolve the conversation, find the show on social media. There'll be clips going up. Send us a message. Send us a story. Try and be funny. We like a bit of humour on social media. Sometimes it's a little bit too serious. And I think James does that well. Right, I will be back on the show on Monday and then Thursday. Have an awesome week. If you've enjoyed this, please share it on social media. Share the love. If you've never left a review for this show, then please leave a review on this show. That's what helps other people find this show, and that's what helps it keep growing. James, thanks again.
No problem, mate. Thank you.
Legend, and everyone else, I will see you very soon. In the meantime, stay awesome. Goodbye. Whoa, just before you go, couple of things. Firstly, if you need my help at any point in time, reach out to my Facebook fan page, ask a question, and I'll get back to you. The reason I like my Facebook fan page is because I can send voice memos back, and it's really time efficient for me to be able to help as many people as possible. If you want to find out just anything I'm up to, keep abreast of social media, make sure you're on my email newsletter, and all of that info is at bencoomber.com. If you want nutrition education in the future, then have a look at the BTNacademy. That's our online nutrition courses. If you want to be coached by me, then join my 90-day body and mind transformation program, Fat Loss for Life. And if you're looking for clarity, honesty, simplicity, and research-proven supplements that taste awesome, then go to awesomesupplements.co.uk. That's my links. That's where to find me. That's where to find the cool stuff. I'm out. Have an awesome day.